Hi there. In this recording, I will be talking on the PostgreSQL, and basically I would be answering what is PostgreSQL. If you log into postgresql.org, you would see PostgreSQL are classified as the world's most advanced open source relational database. There is some terminology here, open source relational database. Let's first try to decode this terminology before we understand this complete definition. The first basic term is database. When somebody asks me to define what is a database, I would simply put it as database is data plus base. It's a repository of data. Or collection of data. These are the two widely used definitions for database. In 1970, E.F.Codd wrote a revolutionary paper on relational database model. Relational data model. Prior to this, you have file-based models, hierarchical, and network. So there were some initial opposition to this model, but now we know after 45 years, the de facto standard for database data model is relational. So from this, databases became relational databases. So if you look at from infrastructure side, database is just a physical storage, right? Just a disk. So the guy that is sitting on top of the database that helps us to answer our queries is a DBMS. And relational databases is RDBMS. So of course there is something called object relational database came into picture. But this is not so popular because the same features are nowadays included in all RDBMSs. So that's why if you go back and see the term here, PostgreSQL is world's most advanced open source, last two words, relational database. So PostgreSQL, they are saying it as a relational database. The database which is built on E.F.Codd's principles. There is one more way of looking at database in my opinion. Based upon business use case, there are three major types of database sections or verticals. One is transactional, another one is data warehousing, another one is big data or NoSQL. This transactional is also called as OLTP, online transactional processing. Some people call it as OLAP or DW or decision supporting systems, you name it. So when I say transactional or data warehousing or NoSQL, the major difference between these two and this guy is type of a data they process. NoSQL you might have unstructured, so I would not be considering this when I explain PostgreSQL. So I would be talking about here structured data. Under structured data, you have two major options. One is transactional, another one is data warehousing. The major classification or difference between these two is type of a transaction they handle. Most of the time, when you go to transactional, the transaction time is 1 or 2 minutes. I'm trying to refer here as a small amount, small time. When you talk about data warehouses, they are transaction time are a little longer, maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes, 30 minutes. When I talk about the average of last 24-hour transactions, the average is much smaller here. The averages are little on a higher side because these data warehouses has to go through amounts of data, huge amounts of data, like terabytes, petabytes of data. If I list some of the major vendors that supports or that are falling under this OLTP transactional system, the industry leader is Oracle, without any doubt. Then you have IBM DB2, Microsoft SQL Server. Then you have PostgreSQL. So when I talk about these vendors, right? Oracle is from a company called Oracle. DB2 is from a company called IBM. SQL Server is from a company called Microsoft. You have to buy the license, you have to pay them certain money to support them further. But that's not the case with Postgres SQL. So Postgres SQL is an open source. So if I say closed source, Oracle, DB2, SQL Server, these are all closed sources because you don't get a source code for them outside. You cannot access, right? But whereas open source meaning and closed source also mean that you cannot just use them for production use. You have to pay these guys, these vendors, certain money to buy the licenses. But that's not the case with Postgres SQL, open source. Open source are MySQL, PostgreSQL. After Oracle acquired this MySQL, the popularity for Postgres SQL became even huge. Now, when I talk about these data warehouses, what comes under data warehouse? The primary guys that are designed for database are IBM Netezza, EMC Greenplum, Oracle has Exadata, HP has Vertica, etc. It's not the case that you cannot use Oracle or Postgres SQL, and primarily they are designed for OLTP. You can still take them and customize them as a data warehouses, right? But you have to go through a lot of configuration changes, lot of tuning, because these guys are not primarily designed for data warehouse systems to handle data warehouse kind of workloads. Okay. However, what underlying fact here is, if you take about this Postgres SQL, if somebody asks me to define at this point what is a Postgres SQL, for me Postgres SQL is a transactional database system, OLTP. However, the interesting fact is, you take about these pure data warehouse systems, you take about this IBM Netezza or EMC Greenplum, the underlying database engine is Postgres. That's a little contradicting, isn't it? I'm one side saying that Postgres SQL is OLTP, but on the other side, I'm saying that the data warehouses were built on top of PostgreSQL. Right, because IBM Netezza and EMC Greenplum, they took this source code and they built data warehouse system on top of it. Right? Yeah, that means I don't just take PostgreSQL as it is and use it for data warehouse systems. Now let's go back and look at this definition given in the website one more time. PostgreSQL is world's most advanced open source relational database. Now, if you look at what is a relational database, we know the database which is built on top of relational model. Now we know what is an open source. It's the code is freely available. You can build anything on top of it without paying anyone anything. Yeah, I would say Postgres SQL is majorly an OLTP system, but somebody can contradict with me that yes, I'm still using Postgres SQL for building these data warehouse, pure proper data warehouse